Hi guys, Pastor Fred. Why did you rape and kill Cynthia? Hey, Pastor Fred. After all the warnings. Alright guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Blessing. So today I'm just going to bring the story of the movie 1245 by the Winlos. Don't know how many of us know the Winlos. So this movie, I just saw it recently, and it's named 1245. In the movie, there was a pastor, Pastor Fred, who was known to be he has a very large congregation. His ministry was really doing well. But then there was the misunderstanding between him and his wife. His wife complains that he makes lots of calls, chatting with ladies at night, always receiving calls from ladies, and she wasn't comfortable with it. The worst part was the midnight calls that he has with these ladies. And then when she speaks to him about it, he just says they are his goddaughters or they are his sisters that he's trying to help, things like that. But the wife wasn't comfortable with it. She just felt like he wasn't setting boundaries, because if there were boundaries, these ladies wouldn't be calling her husband at odd hours, and she felt it was taking more of his time. Moreover, she's the wife, right? She's the mommy GO, so she's supposed to handle women affairs. Why did these ladies call her husband? So some of those things were just her concerns, and she keeps telling her husband, but he doesn't take it seriously. So she took it up to their bishop. The bishop called them for counseling and asked what the problem was, and she let the whole thing out. And the husband just told the bishop that she was just being insecure, that it wasn't nothing, that he's working on it. He doesn't have anything to do with these ladies. It's just they're just his daughters. And the bishop advised him to heed to the wife's complaints. He should really delegate those problems with the ladies. Any issues the ladies have, he should try and refer the ladies to his wife. Let the wife handle the women affairs, and he can focus on other things rather than just having to talk to ladies or have appointments with ladies countless times. So he promised to work on it. Made peace with his wife, and told the wife he was going to set boundaries and he wasn't going to take calls at odd hours again. So on their way home, he promised the wife not to do those things that make her angry again. And then they were trying to, restore the peace amongst them. But guess what? A phone call came in, and it happened to be another lady. He didn't want to pick the call because he was with his wife, right? And he didn't want the wife to get upset again based on his taking a woman's call. And the wife was like, no, this little peaceful moment I want to have with you, another sister is calling. Why don't you pick the call? He said he's not going to pick, and she insisted. He didn't want to speak. He just said he's going to speak to her later, call her back later. So the wife took the phone from him and picked the call. And the sister said she wants to speak to the pastor. And the wife, I'm like, I'm his wife. You can speak to me. Tell me what the problem is. She insisted that she's sorry she can't speak to the wife. It has to just be the pastor. No worries, she'll call back later. So the wife was like, you can see how rude your daughter in the Lord is. She doesn't want to speak to me. She must have to speak to you. You can see what I've been saying, and he apologized once more. So on this same day, the wife was traveling. She was traveling for a program in a different state, and the husband was supposed to take her to the airport where she would board her flight. And she pleaded with him to try and work on everything that they've complained about and everything the bishop has advised him, and he accepted. While they were still discussing, the pastor who was going to host the wife called and exchanged pleasantries with both husband and wife and talked about how they're expecting the wife and so on. So the wife traveled for these events, and that night the pastor was alone in the house because his house help or his staff decided to travel on that day. The moment the madam left, he decided he's going to travel as well. So the pastor was left alone. And then that same lady that called earlier called the pastor again in the middle of the night around 11:45 p.m. or thereabout, and said she was stranded on her way back to town. That their boss had issues. She didn't have where to go. She couldn't find her ATM, and she was just 2 streets away from the pastor's house. She was asking if she could come spend the night in the pastor's place, and the pastor outrightly said, "Yes, you can." That's even thinking twice. So the girl was happy and said, "Thank you very much." She headed for the pastor's house. It was very late at night. I think by now it was already 12 midnight. So she was trekking to the pastor's house because she didn't have transport or she didn't have ATM, no means of transportation. So she was trekking. So on her way trekking, she called her friend and told her friend she was stranded, but that her pastor has offered to help by accommodating her for the night. So she was going to the pastor's house, and she and her friend just had lots of conversations on her way. And suddenly she noticed some awkward movements, and she ended the call with her friend, saying she would call her when she goes to the pastor's place. So as she ended that call and was walking, trying to mind her steps, some men accosted her and then they drugged her and raped her. While this was happening, Pastor was in his house expecting the girl to come, but the girl didn't show up as at when she was supposed to, because she just said she was 2 streets away, so he didn't expect it to take long. So he kept calling her, but nobody was taking up her calls. Eventually, the girl came to his house and just fell onto the sofa and just said she was tired, she needed to sleep. She didn't even like greet the pastor properly. She didn't even want to eat anything or go into the bedroom to have a change of clothes or anything. She just laid on the pastor's cushion in the parlor in the living room and slept off there. And the pastor was like, "What's wrong? Can you tell me what's the problem? Are you okay?" And she didn't say anything. She just said, "Pastor, I'm fine. I just need to rest. I'm very tired." So the pastor left her there, went into his bedroom to rest. Then his wife had a bad revelation and called him on the phone and asked him if he was alone in the house. And he said yes, he was alone. He didn't want to tell her that the girl in question, her name, by the way, her name is Cynthia, that he didn't want to tell her that Cynthia was in the house. So he lied that he was alone in the house. And the wife was like, "Are you sure?" That she had the bad revelation. And he said he was fine. I was she expecting to be anyone? She's like, "No, she just had a bad revelation, but let them pray that she should lead in prayer so that they can cancel it." So they were going back and forth who will lead in prayer. Eventually, the wife won, and Pastor Fred had to pray, and he just prayed casually for the night, and that was it. So they slept. While he was sleeping, Cynthia had an attack in the living room. She had a nightmare of where how she was raped and drugged. Then she started screaming her chest and screaming out for the pastor, but pastor was fast asleep. Pastor didn't wake up to come answer Cynthia's call. Cynthia fell to the ground, picked up her phone, and called her friend who she spoke to earlier. And then she just muttered, "Pastor, rape," and passed out. Now, the friend understood that to be that the pastor raped her. Plot twist. So that was how Cynthia died in the pastor's living room. When the pastor woke up in the morning, took his Bible to go pray, on entering the living room, he saw Cynthia in her pool of blood. He got really confused and scared, tried to shake her, and found out that she was dead. He wanted to call his wife, but remembering that he lied to the wife that he was alone the night before, he couldn't call his wife. So he called another pastor, whom he tagged his best friend. He called this pastor and told the pastor what had happened, and the pastor outrightly accused him of raping and killing the girl. I was like, Pastor Fred, why did you rape her and kill her? And he's like, are you okay? I just told you what happened. Yes, so, okay, calm down. I'm going to come and help you. And he came running to Pastor Fred's house. On reaching there, he asked Pastor Fred if he has informed anybody, and Pastor Fred was like, no, I'm just confused. That's why I called you as my best friend. I don't know what to do. I can't even call my wife because she doesn't know that this lady is here. And now look at, she's dead. So this second pastor offered that they should go dump the body in a dumping site and clean up the mess so nobody will trace it to him. But Pastor Fred has to pay him the sum of 50 million naira to do that. Pastor Fred was like, 50 million naira? I don't have such money. Why? Well, is that even a good idea going to dump the body? It's like if you tell the hospital, if you take her to the hospital, they will arrest you. The hospital will accost you and call the police to arrest you, and you don't want your ministry to go down. So the only way is for us to dump the body, but then you have to pay me 50 million naira, a whooping sum of 50 million naira. The moment Pastor Fred said, no, I don't have such amount of money, and moreover, you're my best friend, why will you be asking for such an amount of money to help me in a situation or give me an advice that will really be helpful? So the friend said, okay, since you're not going to give me the 50 million naira, I will report to the police. There and then he pulled out his phone, called the policemen, and told them that Pastor Fred raped and killed Cynthia in his living room, and that there is proof. The policemen came and arrested Pastor Fred. When the wife heard of the news, she came straight to the police station, and she didn't even know what to do or what to say to her husband. She only said, Fred, I warned you. I told you to set boundaries with these ladies. I called you. I asked you if you were alone. You said you were alone. How come the lady died in our house? Now I don't even know who to believe. I don't know who to believe. Should I believe you or believe what? Because your pastor friend is out there saying you killed and raped the girl. Rather, you raped and killed the girl. The girl's friend is also out there saying you raped and killed the girl because that's what the girl told her. So, who should she believe? You had options. You had options of referring this girl immediately to our welfare team when she called you that night. You had options of referring her to the elders or calling me so that I can look for the right people to refer her to. But no, you decided to bring her to our house and you lied to me about it. You get, so this was what the thing was. It was more like pastor's life and ministry has just been put, has crumbled, because at some point they made him understand that top politicians, top NGOs are in charge of the case, and there is no going back for him. Like, because with all the evidence plus the girl's utterances before she died, everyone thinks he's responsible. No one is believing he's innocent, and they were not even willing to let him speak to a lawyer. So it looks more like his whole world had crumbled just before him, his face. And then, guess what happened? He woke up. It was a dream, or rather, will I call it a revelation? Because the moment he woke up from this revelation or dream, Cynthia called. The same Cynthia whom he had just had this whole encounter about called him with the same reasons that she is stranded and wants to spend the night in his house. If you were Pastor Fred, what would you do at this point? Let me hear in the comment section what you will do if you were Pastor Fred. I'm going to put the link to this video in your description, in my description box, so you can have a watch for yourself. And then also we can discuss in the comment section the lessons that we learned from this video. But I pointed out some of the lessons that I learned that I feel was very important One, it's good for us to be open to our partners. Why I said it's good for us to be open to our partners. Now, in this whole movie story, Pastor Fred wasn't open to the wife. That was why he lied. He wasn't so open to the wife. And based on the fact that he hasn't been putting the wife's consent into, um, he hasn't really been taking it seriously. So now he was scared of annoying the wife again. That's why he lied. So he wasn't open to her, to let her know that a girl is in their house at that ungodly hour. That was one. And secondly, on the wife's part, though they didn't show us what revelation she had, but then I felt she didn't let him know the magnitude of her revelation. She just said she had a bad revelation. I would have preferred if she had gone into details. Who knows? Maybe she had actually seen a lady, somebody coming to the house and dying, or somebody coming to the house and losing the husband, something like that. If she had hit the what do you call it? Hit the nail on the head. Maybe that would have helped Pastor Fred at that time to open up as well. But I'm sure she was also trying to avoid him saying she's doubting him or she's suspecting him. That was why she didn't paint the whole picture the way it was, the way she saw it. So it's good to be open to your partner, open to one another. It's very important. Um, Trying to set boundaries. Yeah, if you're in a relationship, regardless whether you're a pastor, a minister, or you're just a lay faithful, or you're just some random person out there, it's good for you to be able to set boundaries, especially when it comes to a relationship, right? If you're a man in a relationship, it's not bad to have female acquaintances, like people that you speak to. It's not bad for you to speak to women. It's not bad for you to speak to girls, but then you should learn to set boundaries. It's not right for you to be taking midnight calls to strange people that your wife doesn't even know. You know, even if it's ministry, that's like giving room to the devil. Because imagine Cynthia didn't die. Imagine Cynthia came and her plan was to seduce the pastor and he was alone. I didn't mention to you guys that actually that night, before the whole thing, the plot twist, before Cynthia died, I was even thinking what would happen was going to be a sexual relationship between them, because Cynthia in this movie has been crushing on Pastor Fred for a long time. He has been her crush before he got married. And that was part of the thing about the friend she was just saying with her friend before coming. So let's say she had that plan. And before she even called Pastor Fred was talking about sex with his wife, you know, trying to to remind her that they haven't had intimacy for some time, and he really wanted to have intimacy with his wife. That was the discussion he was having with his wife before Cynthia called. So you can imagine a man who has been starving of intimacy with his wife, and then a young lady. Let me not continue. You know where I'm going to. Let's put two and two together. If you can imagine that. So it's good to set boundaries in our relationship. Same thing goes to the women. You can't be so close to a man or not set boundaries. There should be limits to things that you do with the opposite gender when you are married, or when when you are married, basically. Try to set boundaries. You can't be taking calls at ungodly hours without your partner's consent. Doesn't make any sense. So we don't give room to the devil in our lives. Then it's good to also actually ask God to help us discern who is really our friend, so that when we're in trouble, we will have the right people around us to help us out, and we know the right people to contact. Hope my lessons made sense, lots of sense to you. let us hear in the comment section after you watch the movie if you have more lessons that you learned from that video. I'll be in the comment section to learn from you all as well. Thank you for listening. If you're still here, thank you very much. Do well to help us share this video to your friends and family. Like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. See you next time. Bye.
Feel the spirit in the crowd.